Thanks very much for staying with us. Let's begin with some international updates coming in of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who has expressed that US negotiators are headed to Moscow and could secure a ceasefire in Ukraine war. Now, this is coming at a time when Zelenskyy had agreed for a 30-day period for a ceasefire, and it was Donald Trump who said that it takes two to tango, so remains to be seen exactly what happens as far as now this outreach method that is now being taken up by President Trump and his envoy to reach out to Vladimir Putin. Now, they have been meeting before as far as when it comes to securing this deal is now concerned to bring the countries together and finally head for a ceasefire on this ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Rishabh is connected with us right now. Rishabh, if you can tell us, the US envoy to the Middle East is headed to Russia there. The talks that would be all about, and Colonel Sodhi is also connected with us. Good morning to you, sir, as well. First, let me get in a word from Rishabh as far as this ongoing situation is developing.
Well, definitely. Yesterday, Donald Trump said that, the U.S. envoys are on way en route to Moscow. Remember, this comes after the Jeddah meeting between the U.S. team and the Ukrainian team, the delegations who met in Jeddah this week, and after a 30-day initial ceasefire was discussed between U.S. and Ukraine, it was conveyed to Ukraine that U.S. will convey the same to Moscow. With the same message, U.S. delegation has reached Moscow, and a clear warning coming in from Washington and agree to truce or face further sanctions, economical sanctions as well. Donald Trump has said that if Russia blocks the truce here, it will be disastrous for Moscow. A very clear warning ahead of the meeting of the delegation of the United States with Russian authorities that the whole war needs to end. And given that Ukraine has agreed to an initial 30-day ceasefire, Russia should come on board as well. Remains to be seen how that discussion in Moscow goes ahead today, but definitely US very categorically saying that the truce is the only option right now for Russia and Ukraine.
So, Colonel Sodhi, what's your reading into it? U.S. President saying that American negotiators were headed to Moscow and to achieve ceasefire in Ukraine war. Officials, however, saying that U.S. wants Russia to agree to an unconditional halt in the conflict. Is this pressure building on part of the United States?
Jai Hind, Amita. It's my honor to be on your esteemed channel. When the U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth had visited NATO for the first time last month on 12 February, he had clearly spelled out President Donald Trump's vision to end this war, which included the non-inclusion of Ukraine into NATO and saying that the pre-24 borders were unrealistic. Well, had the Oval Office fiasco not happened between Zelenskyy and Trump in USA on 28 February, the ceasefire would have happened a couple of weeks earlier. But after the Oval Office fiasco, things got delayed. And the way Zelenskyy was pressurized by President Donald Trump, which included suspending of the Ukrainian aid and the stoppage of the American intelligence, Zelenskyy had no option, and he agreed to every terms and condition of the Americans in the meeting held in Saudi Arabia. Now that the American delegation led by Steve Witkoff is on its way to Russia, I'm very sanguine that the ceasefire will happen very soon, because when delegations of such a level go, it is pre-decided what to talk, how to discuss, what all points to be agreed upon. The visits are more of a formality because the backdoor jobs have already been done.
All right. Remains to be seen the results that come out of these talks that are now going to be initiated on part of the United States as well. As Colonel Sodhi continues to be with us, we also speak of Donald Trump, who said that he received some positive messages regarding a potential ceasefire in Ukraine as U.S. officials headed to Russia to discuss the proposed 30-day pause on the ongoing conflict between the two countries. Speaking to the reporters there at White House, Donald Trump has expressed hope that Russia would agree to the ceasefire, saying that we have the people currently heading to Russia.
In a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace.
Do you have a meeting with Vladimir Putin scheduled?
I won't comment on that, but we had a great success yesterday. We have a full ceasefire. If it kicks in, we have to see. It's up to Russia now, and hopefully we can get a ceasefire from Russia. And if we do, I think that would be 80% of the way to getting this horrible bloodbath finished. It's a bloodbath is taking place over there. On average, 2,000 to 3,000 young people a week are being killed in that stupid war that would have never happened if I were president.
Well, Rishabh, how important is the role that United States play here? Because Donald Trump says that we have people currently heading to Russia. He's confirmed that the envoys have been sent to present the Ukraine truce agreement to Russian President Putin.
Well, definitely, the special envoy of US who was stationed in Tel Aviv is being sent to Russia. He's being accompanied by US envoys from Doha as well, and the whole group of United States diplomats will be speaking to the Moscow authorities, especially Kremlin, and will figure out how to go forward. Remember, in Jeddah, both the sides, Ukraine and US, decided that there will be a truce of 30 days that has been agreed by Ukraine. Now it's, as Secretary of State Rubio said, that the ball is in court of Moscow. So remember, today, whatever Moscow decides, whatever the outcome of this discussion between US and Russia will further pave way for either truce between Russia and Ukraine or sanctions for Moscow here, because Ukraine has very categorically said that they are in favor of truce from here. Having said that, how much of importance that the US have? Europe, while they are galvanizing together with Ukraine, Europe do understand that the United States role will be very, very important, and with Trump in power, United States role in this whole peace process becomes very, very important. Remains to be seen how things unfold today in the day, but it would be important to see how and what happens next.
But Colonel Sodi, on the other hand, Kremlin also saying that it was awaiting details of the US-Ukrainian proposal that was agreed upon this week. However, Russia has also not been giving any indication of its own readiness to accept a truce deal.
Well, definitely, Amita, Russia has not given any indication because it is waiting for all the details on the finer print to be presented to Russia personally by the American delegation. So till the time it is not presented in black and white, the Russians don't want to commit anything. But the fact remains, because President Donald Trump and President Putin share a very good relation, which has been evident right to the first tenure of President Trump. I am sure that, between both the presidents, they will chalk out this ceasefire, because not only, the warring nations, but the entire world has been greatly upset by this prolonged over 3-year war, which has affected the global supply chains, increased the cost of living tremendously for every global citizen. So now it is in the interest of America, Ukraine, Russia, and every country that this war ends at the earliest. President Putin also is now feeling the pressure of this prolonged war. As we talk, the Russians have more than achieved their military aims, with 18.2% of the Ukrainian territory firmly in the Russian grip, with the Americans also have said it cannot be returned back to the Ukrainians. So overall, this war has been won by Russians. It is a matter of mere formality when the ceasefire date is announced.
Right, but Colonel Sodi, Putin saying that he wants Ukrainian forces to completely be pushed out of Kursk on his visit to the region. He's been visiting the military headquarters also there in the region. How do we understand as far as the position that Putin now himself finds him? Because Donald Trump has been saying that he's received some positive messages regarding a potential ceasefire. Will Putin agree?
Well, Amita, last night there was a very big counteroffensive launched by the Russians in the Kursk region, and they have had great strategic successes. So with each passing day, the Russians are firmly reclaiming back the Kursk 1,200 square kilometers, which was earlier in the Ukrainian grip. And with America already saying that the Ukrainians will have to vacate every inch of the Russian land, Zelenskyy has no options but to withdraw his forces sooner or later from Kursk region so that the ceasefire is fructified. As far as President Putin is concerned, he is very clear. He is not going to give up an inch of the Russian territory to the Ukrainians. And the Ukrainian president has no option but to accept what America and Russia says now.
All right. So if Russia doesn't agree, we have seen and heard Donald Trump saying that there would be heavy sanctions coming in the way of Russia. But he has also said previously that he doesn't think that it would be required, that he had hoped that it won't be necessary. But amid the Ukraine ceasefire offer, Kremlin saying that it is awaiting details of the US-Ukrainian proposal that was agreed upon this week. And Rishabh, if you can point out exactly the conditions that may be set on part of Russia there, because Putin has visited military headquarters in the region where Russian troops are also close to driving out Ukrainian troops from the last foothold.
Well, Amita, if we talk about the conditions that could be put forward by Russia, Russia is very clear that they are ready to, go for peace if the current situation is agreed upon, which means 1/3 of Ukrainian, territory, be it Donbass, be it Lugansk, or for that matter, the area in Kursk on the Kursk frontier that has been captured by Russia remains in Russian control. And if that happens, Russia is happy to go ahead with truce at the current situation of the war. This is what Russia's stand and long-lasting stand has been from Moscow, that we are ready to halt the war if there is a very clear indication that A, the current situation will be abided, B, Ukraine will not join NATO or European Union, C, US forces, or for that matter, any foreign forces will not be in Ukraine. That is what the Moscow stand has been. Remains to be seen today when, the delegation meet, what the further outcome would be. But Russia is going into the meeting with the mindset that A, no NATO membership for Ukraine, no EU membership for Ukraine, and the last, that whatever territory is in control of Russia remains in control of Russia.
So in the US-Ukraine talks, while America agreed to resume military aid and intel sharing to Ukraine, Kyiv has also showed openness to a mediated 30-day ceasefire deal. Remains to be seen what Russia has to say on this. Colonel Sodhi, Rishabh, thank you very much for joining us here on the broadcast. With that, we head into a short break.